dark brown dirt, evenly spread in neat squares. With a dozen or so packets of seeds in my hands, a verdant future lay before me. Much like the astronomy animators, I had it all mapped out. The sunchokes will go there, I said, in the back on the north side, because they are the tallest. I'll plant the beans just in front of them so that they can use the sunchokes as a natural trellis. So clever. I'll plant fava beans, too, because they are so tasty yet so expensive in the stores. In the front, I'll plant leafy greens in succession, week by week, which will produce a daily salad straight through to the fall. Tomatoes, you gotta have tomatoes, and big winter squash, like one of those massive blue Hubbards that taste great and store so well. Perfect. Then came an unusually cold April, colder than March, that killed half of what I had planted, followed by an unusually wet May that washed out nearly the rest. And you know what's funny about winter squash? Apparently there's this little creature called the squash vine borer, Militia cucurbitae, a species of moth that lays its eggs on the base of a well-developed squash vine in early July so that its larvae can feed safely inside the vine and reach maturity as they kill the entire plant before it can bear fruit. They seem to violate a basic tenet of biology by wiping out the very food source that they will need to rely on during the next season. Who knew? I relay my garden woes partly as catharsis, yes, but mostly as an example of how often things don't go as planned, despite research and preparations. The unexpected occurs reliably, be it unusual weather, such as a month-long dust storm on Mars kicking up during crucial assembly of habitats, or a fly in the ointment, such as an undetected chemical blocking an essential biological reaction from taking place. NASA had its share of the unexpected in the 8-year rush to place humans on the moon. The Apollo 1 mission ended tragically for astronauts Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee when a tiny spark in a high-pressure, pure oxygen capsule environment grew instantly into an unescapable fireball, a design flaw that no one had realized was there. NASA administrators later confessed to being lucky that Apollo 11 ever succeeded. Neil Armstrong had to unexpectedly manually steer the Eagle lander away from boulders to a smooth landing site with less than 30 seconds of fuel left. Apollo 13 astronauts never landed on the moon as intended. An oxygen tank exploded en route, an accident that would have proved fatal if not for the quick thinking and skilled actions of both crew and mission control. Yet another group of Apollo astronauts just missed a large solar flare that could have poisoned them with radiation. Many space enthusiasts are on NASA's case about not getting us to Mars, as if that were the space agency's sole raison d'etre. But despite the agency's flaws, which I don't shy away from enumerating in this book, NASA isn't rushing to place humans on Mars because, reasonably enough, it doesn't want anyone dying out there. You can't launch humans to Mars on a tank of hope. We can and should go to Mars only when the risks and costs are minimized, for there is no imperative demanding immediate action. Right now, the voyage is dangerous, and the cost is exorbitant. The monumental accomplishment of placing humans on the moon in 1969 set, for some, unrealistic expectations of what would follow. Pick up any popular space book from the 1970s, and you'll conclude that we should have been to Mars a long time ago. Mars was to be the natural next step after NASA astronaut Alan Shepard played golf on the lunar surface in 1971, cocky as that was. After all, the Americans and Soviets were sending probes to Mercury, Venus, and Mars by this point, and there was a U.S. space shuttle project in the works with planned twice-monthly flights into orbit. Thomas Paine, who led NASA from March 1969 to September 1970, put a date for Mars on the table, a human spaceflight to Mars with a crew of 12 to depart Earth on November 12, 1981, powered by a nuclear rocket. Meanwhile, physicists, engineers, and members of the U.S. Congress were holding serious conversations about massive orbiting spheres to be built in the 1980s that could house more than 10,000 people apiece. The orbiting space resident's primary occupation would be harvesting solar energy to beam down to Earth, weaning the world of its oil dependency.